Today, I'd like to share with you a relatively easy chord progression that's based off of some open chords with a slight twist. Most guitarists end up learning this progression at some point or another, so grab your guitar and play along. Alright, so the first chord in this progression is G major. And we're going to use this particular version of the chord because it's going to make the transition to the next chord in the progression much easier. So let's take a closer look at this version. We're going to place our middle finger on the 3rd fret of the E string, our pointer finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, the D string and the G string are open. Then we place our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the B string and our pinky on the 3rd fret of the high sounding E string. And then we can strum all the strings together. So there's G major. Now the next chord is C add 9. You may not have played it before, but if we go from this version of G, it's really easy. All we need to do is take our middle finger and our pointer finger and we're going to move them up to the next set of strings like this. Okay? And then we strum from the A string all the way through the high sounding E string. We do not want to strum that low sounding E string because it doesn't make the chord sound all that great. It ends up sounding a little muddy. One thing that you can do to keep that string quiet is just place your middle finger in a way where it's just barely touching that low sounding E string. And then even if you accidentally hit it with your pick, it's not going to sound through. So there is C add 9. The third chord in our progression is D major, which you may be familiar with. We have our pointer finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, ring finger, 3rd fret of the B string, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the E string, and then of course our D string is open. So there's D major. Now one thing I want to point out is that for all 3 of these chords, our ring finger stays in the same place. So when we make our chord changes, it acts as our anchor for everything else, which is going to make it easier to do the chord progression without having to look at our left hand. So notice that ring finger, when I go through the chords, stays there, stays there, stays there. Now I personally like this chord progression with playing the C add 9 after the D. So we have G, C add 9, D, C add 9. When you're learning a new chord progression, it can be really helpful to not worry about the rhythm right away and just break the progression up into smaller chunks. So let's start by just playing our G major chord. And we're going to pluck each string on its own and just make sure we don't have any buzzing. Give it a strum. Sounds good. Then we move to our next chord, C add 9. Same thing. Let's hear each of those notes individually. Give it a strum. And then we're just going to go back to that G chord. So we'll just go back and forth a few times until that starts to feel a little bit easier. And then we go to the next set of chords, C add 9 to D. And then just go back and forth. Once that feels good, we go to the last set, which is D to G. Now this one might take a little more practice because our fingers have to move a little further. Once again, we just want to be sure we're not getting any buzzing. Okay? Once you feel good making those individual changes between the chords, we can try to put it all together and then add the metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And once that feels good, we can even add a little bit of strumming, or you could add a little picking. If you have a loop pedal or some other way to record yourself, you could try improvising over these chords. Start by using the G major scale or the E minor pentatonic scale. And if you're unfamiliar with your major scale, check out the links in the description for help. Have fun with the chord progression and try to add your own spin on it. Maybe you even write out some lyrics and try to create a song. Or you could even add some other chords from the key of G, like E minor or A minor. Let me know in the comments if you recognize this chord progression from any other songs, because there really are a lot out there that use it. That's all I have for now. Till next time.